Hello, everyone. My name is Parisa Bania. I am the business whisperer of Sixth Sense Strategy. This is my very first LinkedIn Live. Uh, I'm not going to lie and tell you that I am like 100% confident about what I'm doing, but I'm going for it anyway. Why is it that I'm doing this? Why am I calling this Badass Bytes? I have an unabiding passion for people I call badasses. These are high performing senior leaders, regardless of funded startups or all the way up to the C-suite of billion-dollar companies. And the underlying theme for all of these people is that they go 80 miles an hour in a 45-mile-an-hour zone without always checking to see if their people are interested in going for the ride, let alone checking to see if their people are strapped in. Uh, I have an I have a love and a passion for these people because I see in my mind's eye the outsized impact they can have on all of us, local community, global community, once they get out of their own way. And so, what I'm going to be doing over the next series of however many LinkedIn lives that I do called Badass Bites is that I will be talking to people who I think are badasses. Some of them are past clients. Some are past clients and friends. Some people are just people I know that are doing interesting things in this world. And I love to have a conversation with them and share part of that conversation with you. Now, in the spirit of transparency, I've been approved for LinkedIn Live for about a month, but I'd been sitting on the sidelines. And then I was reminded of this really wonderful quote from Anais Nin the other day, which I will share with you. Here we go. And the day came when the risk it took to remain tight inside the bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. This was really powerful for me because for the last year, I've been going through this experiment of living at the intersection of visibility and vulnerability. So if I share all of my good parts, if I share all of my bad parts, then that is prodigiously risky for someone like me that always likes to present as everything hospital corners and I always have a suit of armor. But then because I like to work with badasses, because I'm so passionate about them, and because I know they have a passion for connecting with their people more powerfully than they're doing now, then I have to model for them, or I'm choosing to model for them rather, the understanding that it was riskier to stay inside the bud than to blossom in all of its colorful glory, or maybe it's not so colorful glory. And so the invitation for you all today is about hedging risk. We hedge risk all the time. When I jaywalk across major avenues, before I do it, I look both ways before I actually go ahead and jaywalk. When we're making an investing decision, we mitigate risk. Everything we do has a mitigating risk function to it, but it gets to the point in time where we become too good at it. We become an expert at mitigating risk. And it becomes actually way more expensive to mitigate risk than it actually is to just go ahead and make that bet. Even if the outcome of that risk taking, even if the outcome of that bet isn't necessarily to your liking or is palatable, at least you know what the outcome is of having made that move. And this is a very meta moment for me. I have no idea how this LinkedIn Live thing is going to go for me, but I'm making that bet. I'm taking that risk because every outcome on the other side of making a bet or taking a risk is perfect because it's something that I have that is useful forever on a go forward basis. Um, over the weekend, Richard Branson famously kind of flew off to the edge of space, and he floated around the that air capsule. I can't remember the name of his Virgin something. I can't remember what it's called, but there are millions of Richard Bransons out there that we have not met yet. There are millions of Steve Jobs out there that we've not met yet. There are Frank Garys, there are Elon Musks, there are all of these wonderful bold-faced names. There are wonderful female scientists, wonderful female engineers. There's another Dr. Mae Jemison out there that we haven't met yet. And the difference between these really bold, venturous people and the people we haven't known about yet is just risk. It's just the assumption of risk. And so the invitation for all of us is, how do we assume a little bit more risk? How do we, not necessarily being careless, not necessarily throwing caution to the wind and not being environmentally aware, but what's 1% more risk that we could possibly take? What could possibly happen? And it really comes down to courage, not necessarily confidence. Confidence, my coach says, is a lagging indicator of courage. And speaking of Steve Jobs, there is another wonderful quote I want to share with you. So just bear with me and I will pull it up because I really think it speaks to what I'm trying to get to. Bear with me. Here we go. Wonderful. Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow know what you truly want to become. It's really a function of courage. Nothing more, nothing less. How much courage do we choose to allow ourselves to have? We all have access to the same amount of courage. It's this the degree to which someone chooses to exercise that courage. And, we don't have to like who Steve Jobs was as a person. He was a notoriously difficult person. But one thing we can't deny, one thing that is so true about him is that he had the courage. He could have been that guy that invented something with Steve Wozniak somewhere in a garage, and then they could have said, nah, not interesting, not useful. The earliest version of the iPhone that many of us have was a Newton. And Apple came out with a Newton. It was a big passion project from Steve Jobs. He took the risk of putting the Newton out there, and it was way before its time. And he was ridiculed for it. Well, fast forward however many years later, the iPhone comes out and it's like he's reinvented the wheel. I mean, it's not only did he have the courage to do it the first time, to accept risk the first time, but he also had the courage to accept risk a subsequent time, with the iPhone essentially being a repackaged Newton. And then, of course, it made calls and all of that other stuff. But you get my underlying point. So, going back to that initial Anais Nin quote that kind of started all of this, that was like the impetus for me to kind of get off the sidelines, is, the risk of staying inside the bud and the pain of staying inside the bud and expressing the best ideas that you have and being your boldest badass self, not withholding that from us costs more than going ahead and taking that risk and sharing your genius with everyone. So that's all I have today. If anyone is interested in exploring this idea of the assumption of risk versus sitting on the sidelines. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate you saying that. So if anyone's interested in having this conversation about the assumption of risk, ping me, DM me. You can also reach out to me, Parisa, at sixcensestrategy.com. And if there's a badass out there that you know that likes to go 80 miles an hour in a 45-mile-an-hour zone, change agents, pattern interrupters, disruptors, that you think would be interesting to feature in a future Badass Bytes, I would love to hear about them. That is it. That is all I have today. Wishing you a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day filled with all of the badassery that you can stand. Be well. Bye.